right, up first, some breaking news coming in. A relief from US sanctions for India. This after the Chabahar Port is off the US sanctions for 6 months. So a big development there for India for 6 months, an exemption from US sanctions for the Chabahar Port. Well, let's listen into what was said at the press briefing.
On your question regarding exemption for Chabahar, yes, I can confirm that we have been granted exemption for a 6 months period on the sanctions that were applicable, American sanctions that were applicable on Chabahar.
All right, so a big development for India. Aditya, if you can take us through all the details regarding this and relief for 6 months now.
Well, that's right, Gargi. It's a big development coming at this. Ranveer Jaiswal, the spokesperson of the India's Ministry of External Affairs, confirming what has been reported widely in the last few hours, that the US has exempted India from the Chabahar Port sanctions that were announced earlier. This is a big relief coming in, and this will be applicable for the next 6 months. That means till about April 2026, the sanctions have been lifted in the Chabahar Port. It's a big relief because this is a big, center point for India when it comes to connectivity, trade, the sea routes that go through the Indian Ocean. In fact, Chabahar is, in a lot of senses, seen as the gateway to the Indian Ocean. Also, it's a very critical, important port for trade, as I said, for connectivity, and also for the humanitarian aid that India sends to Afghanistan. Because remember, trade between India and Pakistan has been shut. The land border, the air corridor between India and Pakistan is shut as well. And that's why a lot of humanitarian aid that goes to the people of Afghanistan from India also goes through the Chabahar Port. So it's a very critical development, also coming at an hour when there are final stages of conversation and negotiations happening between New Delhi and Washington, D.C. on a trade deal. Remember, this morning, Trump has slashed 10% tariffs for China. There was a big handshake between Xi Jinping and President Trump. Will this happen between Trump and Modi as well? Well, there are a lot of speculations, but the final round of negotiations and talks are still underway. There was no meeting on the sidelines of the ASEAN, of course, where Indian Prime Minister skipped the ASEAN visit. But a lot of speculation that the deadline of November could be met, and the negotiations between New Delhi and, of course, DC are on final stages. So this Chabahar relief could be part of the larger game plan around the trade deal and the 50% tariffs that have been slapped against India.
All right, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So that's the big breaking. The US has granted India a 6-month exemption from sanctions for operations through the Iranian port of Chabahar.